tend to keep this just a Harley channel.
I'll never slow up, no I don't take sh**. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh**. I got no love.
First filmed test ride. I got done with the service on this 2006 Harley Davidson Street Glide. So far so good. She's running pretty good. A few things I don't like about it. I think the previous owner was a lot taller than me. I can't see over the windscreen very well, and it's not really, it's not see-through at all. So that's a problem for me. I don't even know how much you all can see. It's got these huge apes. Anybody who's ridden with ape hangers knows that it's way different than most stock bars. It can be a little bit hard to get used to, but once you've ridden with them long enough, it's just like any other bars. I will say anybody who has circulation issues, like I've noticed that I've had developed poor circulation issues. After a little bit of riding, my hands will start going numb because there's having a harder time pumping the blood to my hands because they're up above my shoulders. My suggestion, even though the huge ape hangers look really, really cool, the higher your hands are, the more uncomfortable the ride is. I like my baby apes on my Softail because they put my hands right about as if I were to put my arms straight out from my shoulders, which is about as high as I find to be still comfortable, because I don't like my hands too low and I don't like them too high. When they're up too high, like right here, I couldn't ride this for more than this 30-minute test ride. And also this windscreen has me nervous because I can't see the road as much as I can on anything else. So might suggest that we swap it out for a shorter one, or at least one that's opaque. Other than that, she's running good, she's riding good, so that means I did a good job. I totally support taking your bike and customizing it to you so it is an original looking bike as opposed to looking like everybody else's bike. That's why when I bought the Road King, I always favor the black bikes. If you've seen any of my past videos with my Softail, I have a black Softail. And in all honesty, I wanted a black Street Glide. But then again, everybody has a black Street Glide. So when I saw the Road King and the guy's like, hey, you've been approved, let's go ahead and sign paperwork, I'm like, all right, I'm down for it. I love the Road King and how it rides and all. There's a few things I'd change about it, but I really would have better settled for the Road King that I'm working on at work, which is a Road King Special, all blacked out, ape hangers, you know, not a bit of chrome on her, whereas mine is partially blacked out but still has a bit of chrome, and it's orange. Although I love the orange and I love being different. My style normally is just a straight up blacked out Harley, just like everybody else. But yeah, ape hangers, just gotta, you know, be aware. It's gonna be a little bit different having your hands up and riding and maneuvering. And like I said, if you're gonna go for a long ride, you have the likelihood of just your hands falling asleep just because your hands are elevated and you're fighting gravity at this point to pump the blood to your hands. So other than that, if you handle that, then you know, ape hangers are for you. Don't just get something just because it looks cool. Highly recommend any modification that's more cosmetic. Test it out first. Don't just do it. Make sure that it's going to be comfortable for you. Now, if you're one of those people that just has a bar hopper, then just about anything you do, you could probably survive just going to the bar with. But if you're like me and plan on doing thousands of mile rides, then you're going to want to make sure that you are comfortable. feel that I probably should do a clutch adjustment though. The clutch engages way too soon for what I feel comfortable with. Starting to feel like what happened with the Softail. The reason why I got the Road King was because I've been having a problem with the Softail's clutch. I parked her for a bit because I rode home one day from work, and as I was riding home, the clutch would engage sooner and sooner. As I'd let it out, it was slowly engaging quicker and quicker, basically. So eventually, by the time I got home, I could pull the lever in and it wasn't engaging at all. I'd get her home and I'd pull the lever in and she was still engaged. The clutch was still engaged. So I'm like, oh crap. So first thing in my head is clutch cable adjustment. Well, the clutch cable was adjusted out as far as it would go. So I had someone do it all for me, just because at that point I just didn't feel like it. So I had them redo the cable, adjust everything, change out some stuff, and I don't think that they listened to me. You know who I'm talking about, because I know you're watching my video. I don't think they listened to me when I told them the proper adjustment, because I have an old bike and things need to be done differently. So I think I figured out what the issue is, and I'm going to go back in and fix it. Well, I do miss my Softail. I love my Road King too. It's nice to ride. It's probably going to be a lot more fun to ride the Road King on long trips than it is the Softail, but I do want to get the Softail up and running again, just so I have her for some shorter trips and have some fun with her. And of course, I'll show you all what I do when I do all that. I'm waiting for some things to happen at the house so I can reorganize the garage and have more space to work on things, so that I can get the Softail back up into her former glory, and then start working on my 1980 Y Glide. But yeah. And then anyone who asks, well, you bought the Road King, why didn't you just trade in the Softail? Well, Softail was given to me by my dad. The Softail was my first bike. The first bike I learned how to work on Harleys on, because she had a lot of problems when I first got her. Well, at least a lot of problems to me, because I didn't understand anything, because that's before I went to school at MMI, so I was in foreign territory at that point. The few people that I asked, like, were arrogant for some reason, because I would ask questions, because I'd be like, hey, I'm doing this myself. I had a buddy who was friends with, who I believe was a Harley mechanic at the time, and he got me on the phone with him, and I said, hey, this is what my bike's doing. And he's like, oh, it's this. And I'm like, are you sure? Is there any way that I can test this to make sure that that's exactly what's going on? And he was just, oh, how are you going to question me on what's wrong with this? This is what it is, da 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 da. And then got off the phone with him, and then went on a rant to my buddy, who was his friend, about how I didn't know what I was talking about, and I just needed to listen to what he said. Turns out he was 100% wrong. What was wrong with it? Talked to another guy who was more about listening and understanding, hey, this guy's doing it himself. This guy doesn't have a lot of money. He needs some reassurances, because he doesn't want to just spend parts and then it not being what it is. He was real cool about it. I don't remember too much else. This was years ago, like 2008. But I told him what's up, and he's like, I'm pretty sure it's this. I'm like, well, is there any way to test it? And he's like, oh yeah, you do this, 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 and this, you know. just to make sure. I'm like, all right, cool, thanks. And he was right. It was a grounded stator. But the main reason why I've kept it and I've kind of just put lots of band-aids on it is because, one, I like to ride, and two, my dad gave me that bike. My dad has passed away about 10 years ago, so I'm not about ready to get rid of that bike because there's a lot of sentimental value. Same thing with my 1980 Y-Glide. It's in a million pieces. I have yet to buy a single part for it and even really start working on it because there's just a lot that it needs to be totally, literally, fully taken apart. Every bolt, every nut, every screw cleaned, looked over, and reassembled, because that thing has been in pieces since I was probably about 12 years old, I want to say. It was my dad's first Harley, and I'm never getting rid of that either, because like I said, he passed away about 10 years ago. So I have his first Harley, my first Harley, and too much sentimental value between the two. In fact, whenever I have to move, or the few times in my life where it was like, oh crap, I might get evicted, I don't have enough money for rent, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't know where I'm going to go, my first thoughts are, all right, where can I put these bikes to where they don't get stolen, they don't have anything wrong with them, and then I'll figure out where I'll sleep later, because I always worry about these two bikes before I worry about what's going on with me. So there's a little history of all of that. Anywho, gonna go back to the shop, take another bike out for a spin,